Devin, let's begin by you telling us a bit about Vista USD, and if you would, giving us some background on your personalized learning initiative.
Yeah, certainly. So Vista Unified School District is about 30 miles north of San Diego. We're just off the coast in a beautiful part of California. We have about 25,000 students, and it's a very diverse student population, which is a great benefit for us. About 2/3 of our students are receiving free or reduced lunch. About 1/4 of our students are identified as English learners, and we just have a great range of student needs. The geography of Vista is varied, so the parts of our community are very rural. We have a lot of farms and agricultural areas. Many of our students are children of farm working families. We have other parts of our community that are much more suburban, kind of upper middle class tract homes, and then other parts of our community are almost urban with more higher density apartments. And so we have a whole range of student needs and backgrounds, and I think that's one of the great things about our community that I'm sure has contributed to our journey with personalized learning. But for me, the journey begins with, in my first year as superintendent, going through a collaborative process to define the vision for Vista Unified School District. And that process resulted in a vision that we want Vista Unified School District to be the model of educational excellence and innovation, which is a really outstanding, aspirational portrait of the future for our community. And I think, that balance of excellence and innovation presents some great dynamic tension, but also represents some opportunities to try some things in new and different ways. I should also mention it's important that in addition to the vision statement that we have, we also revised our district mission statement. And so we decided that the purpose of Vista Unified School District is to inspire every student to persevere as a critical thinker who collaborates to solve real-world problems. And everything that we do should be grounded in this idea that students are orienting their learning to solving real-world problems, making their schools better, making communities better, making the world a better place. So after we had the vision and the mission, one of the next phases was to create what we call our blueprint, which is our version of a strategic plan. And again, this was really a collaborative process that included a lot of student forums. And in these student forums, what we heard loud and clear is that students want to be more actively involved in their learning. They would say things like they didn't want school to happen to them, and they wanted to have more choices, they wanted to have more flexibility, they wanted to have a lot more ownership of their learning journey. And that really led us in the blueprint to develop kind of a whole child approach that also focused on personalized learning. And once we rolled that out, we spent some time defining personalized learning as a school district and ended up with a definition that has 5 key points, the first of which is a holistic student profile, the second of which is using technology as an infrastructure, the third is student choice and path, the fourth piece is flexible learning environments, and then the fifth piece is a competency-based approach. And as we implemented this new model of personalized learning, we had schools that were identified as challenge schools. We had 2 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. And each of those schools were the pioneers in this effort to help us move forward. And they certainly encountered some difficulties and some great learning along the way, but we also were seeing some outstanding promise in terms of better engaging our students and leading to some really outstanding academic outcomes as well. So it's been a fantastic journey, and Vista High School was one of our pioneering schools, and it was our effort with personalized learning that led Vista High to create a personal learning academy, which was a school within a school. Again, had just tremendous success with that early effort, and the great potential of that project I think, positioned us well to go out and pursue the XQ Super School Award. And so we're now at a place where we've received that award, and we're working hard to implement a new model for high schools based on this idea of a whole child personalized learning experience.
Congratulations. That sounds like a very, very impressive experiment that's proved already very productive, educationally speaking. By the way, I assume the blueprint is on your website?
Absolutely. So on the Vista Unified School District, there's a tab that says Blueprint, and by clicking on the blueprint, you can get an archive of all of the activities, all of the plans, as well as a number of links to our Personal Learning Steering Committee efforts and activities tied to our XQ implementation as well. So a lot of great resources available on the Vista Unified School District website, and that's vistausd.org.
Great, thank you. Now let's turn to our high school panelist. And I have 3 questions we'll be discussing. We have a lead presenter on each question, and then her or his colleagues can chime in as they want. But here's the first question. What are some of the really practical benefits of personalized learning for you, the student? What have the really important positive impacts been? And I think, Garrett, you're our lead off on this one.
Yes. Well, my school experience before, I didn't really enjoy going to school before I was in the Personalized Learning Academy, the school inside the school. Like I had problems with there being too many kids in the class, or like not having a good relationship with my teacher because I felt like they didn't want to get to know me. They just wanted to give a grade and teach their class like before. But now that I've been in the Personalized Learning Academy, I've grown like relationships with my teacher, and I actually enjoy going to class. And my communication skills with my teachers have gotten a lot better. So I've been able to reach my goals as a student. Me being an IEP, having a learning disability, it's been a struggle in the past, not being able to turn work in on time or getting the right GPA that I've wanted. So the PLA has really helped me with reaching my goals and being successful in school.
Great. Anyone else like to add anything to Garrett's response from your perspective? Okay. Well, thank you, Garrett. Let's go on to the next question. What have students found really challenging about personalized learning? I was trying to imagine what it would be like for me. It was a little bit hard, but I was one of those students. I got pretty good grades, but I kept very quiet. I didn't mind large classes. I wasn't especially interactive in class. I just worked real hard outside of class. So this, for me, is probably would be pretty challenging. So what have you found challenging? Alyssa, I think you're our lead off here.
Personally, I feel like something that all of us within PLA have encountered with the situation is going from the traditional learning style that we have been used to since we started primary school. And that's like going into the bigger class settings and just working out of a textbook and all those things. So going from that to a classroom where we have to rely on the teacher a lot to help us figure out what we need to do, and it's more involved and active. And we get a lot more freedom and independency within the program, so we work in groups or by ourselves a lot, just trying to figure out the curriculum and using a lot of our strengths that we have found. We did a survey, and it helped us figure out what things we're good at, and so using those is more difficult because you had to adapt to the situation.
Where freedom really does bring responsibility, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's not easy to be free. It's sometimes easier to follow the way it's always been done. Now, I'm assuming from what you said, Alyssa, that teamwork is part of this growth. I think that's what you said, right? That you're working with groups?
Yes, we do a lot of group projects, and we're very involved with one another.
Excellent. Both of my kids have law degrees, and they're practicing attorneys now. One of the things that was a big change in their experience when they went from undergraduate to graduate school to law school, the amount of teamwork. And I think you'll find you're well prepared for much of graduate education when you engage in active teamwork. Well, now, let's talk about how the personalized learning initiative might be strengthened. What do you think from your perspective as a student that Vista Unified School District might do to make personalized learning a higher impact, more beneficial process for students? And I think this is yours, Dana.
Yes. To make it more beneficial, you actually have to put in a lot of the work, and you have to try, because I know there's some people who take personalized learning and they don't try. So we have all this freedom, and if you don't try, then you won't be able to get the full benefit of it.
So how do you get students to try?
I think it's because we have smaller class sizes, and our teachers actually have the one-on-one with us, and they're able to form a connection with the teacher, and they're able to motivate you more because you want to make them proud or you want to try.
Interesting. You know, a thought occurred to me while you all were talking. You haven't mentioned opposition to personalized learning, but I'm sure there must have been, at least early on, some significant resistance. Was that true, Devin? And any of you might want to respond, but I'll turn it back to our superintendent on that. Did you encounter a lot of questions and resistance early?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that when we initially rolled out the blueprint, there was certainly anxiety from families and from staff members in particular about this concept of personalized learning, particularly because it's a relatively new concept, and so the general feedback that we received was a sense that they were interested in the goals of personalized learning, and they understood why we were pursuing personalized learning as a strategy, but they weren't really sure what it meant, and they weren't sure what it meant for them specifically. And so that's one of the reasons that we spent almost an entire year with a real collaborative group creating that common definition. And then that definition was used for what we call a roadshow. And so the team that helped to create the definition went out to individual school sites and shared the definition as well as opportunities to engage in dialogue. And I think based on that foundation, we were able to resolve a lot of that anxiety. And then the other thing that we did strategically is we said to our schools that it was voluntary. So if you were interested in being an early adopter with personalized learning, we would be happy to support that district-wide, but we weren't going to compel that in the early stages. And so we ended up with a great team of pioneers who had that common understanding based on the shared definition, and they were networked together, supported by the district. And as soon as they started to have some of these breakthroughs, that really started a movement within the district. And since that point in time, we've had very little in the way of opposition. But in the early stages, it was definitely important for us to slow down and build capacity in community before proceeding.
I was thinking, as you were talking, it sounds like a model large-scale change management project. I do a lot of work in innovation and change, and this idea of involving people in defining what they're going to be doing, pilot testing carefully, these are key ingredients, and also recognizing that resistance to a great extent is apparently fear of failing at something. And so while people might be intrigued by the opportunity, deep down the thought that, oh my gosh, I might fail at doing something new, I could imagine that for teachers, is a real high barrier. It sounds like you've handled it very well. I want to thank you for telling us your personalized learning story this afternoon. Really appreciate your time, and I'm positive this will be an important resource for educators throughout the country. So I wish you a good afternoon, and thank you again.